Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people.
Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch, coming to you now from the Peninsula Home Studios of Bob Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. Joining me from more than safe social distances are my guests for today. First, we have Paul Joel. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. And then we also have Delisa Abraham. How you doing, Delisa?
I am fantastic. Hello, everybody. Hi, Paul. Hi, Bill.
Well, it's great to have you both. Usually I start with the same question of everybody, and that is, what are you reading? Or I guess, who are you reading would also be appropriate. So what are you reading? Delisa, let's start with you. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is a good one. Definitely plenty to take away. What's your key takeaway so far in the book? Oh, wow. Yes. Yes. Very important. My parents and I actually started to put together a leadership, family leadership program. Because my parents' family and marriage program, it was kind of a joint thing. My father is a chaplain with like 40 some odd years worth of experience, and my mother has worked side by side with him since before the beginning of that. I studied leadership in school, and so we were going to put together a family life leadership program, and it never quite got off the ground because I couldn't get it marketed very well. It was difficult for me to market it and get people to sign up, but so we kind of put it on the back burner. But who knows? We might bring it back up again. But oh, did Delisa freeze? Delisa froze.
Yeah, it looks like she's not moving fast.
Okay. Yes, and I'm praying she didn't have a stroke.
No.
Well, while we wait for her.
Well, I'm following my lifelong dream of being a functional literate, so I don't really read for pleasure much. Okay.
Okay.
I review cases. I'm board certified in internal medicine and pulmonary, and I still
Mhm.
work. So I'm reading all the time. The last thing I want to do is pick up and read. Okay. So I'm reviewing cases.
I can understand.
Pulmonary, sleep medicine, etc. So the whole day is spent sitting at the computer reading.
Yeah, I can understand that. I haven't been reading for pleasure lately either, because I've returned to school to get my master's in divinity. I found a program called Marketplace Ministry out at Regent University, and it combines all the divinity stuff with like church history and missions and all of that good stuff with classes in business and journalism and social media and a whole bunch of different things.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's not in there, okay? And that is the Lord's Prayer, which is in the Bible, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I say the Rosary every day, and I pray every day, whatever, because I know I'm a big sinner. But the Our Father prayer doesn't make sense to me, okay? The beginning, okay, but the ending of lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're praying to your Heavenly Father, okay? And there's no father. I have two kids, okay, two sons, and I would never lead them into temptation. And if they fail, they wind up in hell for eternity. Okay, that isn't the way. It's not a game show. Okay.
No,
right?
It's not.
So it doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like since I got converted and I started believing God on October 15th, 1982, I've been fighting with this evil one daily. Okay, and losing every day, getting suffering. And so to me, I end it with just deliver us from the evil one. It's not like some nebulous evil. There's an evil one. Okay.
Right.
And when I didn't believe in God, I always used to think to myself, well, this world is just kind of disgusting. Okay, we've got the Nazis in my family, getting killed and everything else, and,
Mm-hmm.
and man isn't that bad. Okay, there's something else roaming around this earth
Yeah.
that knows your thoughts, that knows your motivations, that pushes the buttons, and that kind of like ebbs you on to do the wrong thing. Okay,
Yeah.
and like
Well,
man is all the terrible things in life isn't just man decides to wake up one day and do it all wrong. Okay, he's got some
well,
help.
I kind of believe both ways. There is an evil one. There is an adversary. There is a devil, a overwhelming evil being, who sends temptation out into the world. But he and his minions are limited, and so I think and I think we make their job really easy because we tend to be selfish anyway, and so the devil doesn't have to get everybody, and so he and his minions focus on the people who are the biggest targets that are doing the right thing, so that
Well,
if you're on the right path,
right,
then you're going to get attacked, because
exactly.
and the closer you get to the right thing,
Right, that's
the
called
the
finding
the the
plus.
harder. Yeah. And yeah, and then of course, you know uh, um, we do the rest of the job pretty well for him,
Well,
because we're selfish beings.
I kind of learned that on October 13th, 1982, and at that time
Uh-huh.
I was an atheist. Okay, and
Right.
I'm on a trip with my wife. Okay, we're in Germany of all places. Okay, which is where I got converted immediately. We lost somebody, and um, we're on a crowded train. We're standing in the aisle. My wife is in front of me. About 10, 15 feet in front of her is this crazy guy with a knife. Okay,
Oh, wow.
and people are screaming at him, but I don't understand German. And suddenly he bolts down the aisle towards my wife. And a normal reaction for me would be, okay, let me just jump out of the way and get out of the way. My wife sees this. Not only is she brilliant, but she's athletic. She could have been a professional skier. Okay, but
Oh,
that's not what I did.
wow.
That's not what I did. She's a perfect human being. Okay, it's like, and it's annoying by the way, living with that. Okay, um, so instead, what I did is I grabbed her shoulders and threw her on the lap of somebody. Okay, to my left, and then I kept my weight on her so she couldn't stand up. There's no way this guy with the knife could reach her. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm still in the aisle, and my whole right side is exposed. He had to move out of the way not to stab me with his right hand, okay, as he went
Hmm.
by. And then he, ran into the other car, and everything was fine. So I let her up, and she doesn't even say thank you. Okay, this is Saint Mary Beth. Okay, like the perfect person. Okay, how do you not? I risked my life for her, and you don't even say thank you. This is if she went to the market and you carried her bags to the car, she would say thank you. And so for years, I prayed to God. Okay, afterwards, when I was converted 2 days later. Okay,
Mhm.
this is October 13th. Okay, and when I was converted, I walk into Tears Church in Germany, of all places, again. And again, the lesson is don't hate people. All right,
Right.
and it's stupid to hate Germans now because the adults who had responsibility for the Holocaust are dead. Okay,
Yeah.
what are you hating this guy for? Okay, it's ridiculous. He wasn't even alive. Okay, had no responsibility for this. Okay, so I walk into Tears Church, and we were on this trip to see Neuschwanstein, this castle that Ludwig II built in the 1800s. And the bus stops in the middle of nowhere near a coffee shop, and everyone gets out of the bus, including my wife, to go to the coffee shop to eat something, drink something, go to the restroom. But I didn't have to do any of those things, so I walked across the street, and there's this church standing there. Okay, and I didn't know the story of it. The story was there's a stick figure of Jesus being scourged. Okay, that they used to use
Mhm.
in the Good Friday procession. But everyone agreed it was ugly, so they threw it in a barn for a couple of decades until somebody realized there were actual tears coming from the eyes of Jesus from this thing. So
Wow.
they put that on the altar, and they built a church around it. So I walk in there, and of course it's a Catholic church. There's Stations of the Cross on the walls, and the walls and ceilings are gorgeous. But your eye is drawn to this ugly thing on the altar. So I'm sitting there
Mhm.
looking at it, and then I get this message. It wasn't like an auditory hallucination. I didn't hear anything. It's like, okay, I'm speaking to you right now. You're getting a message, hearing my voice, and then your brain is interpreting that message and telling your brain what it means. Okay. Well, this
Mhm.
is like it's right directly to my brain. Okay, forget about voices or anything else. And all it was I love you. Your sins are forgiven. And I'm like ecstatic. There's like a God, and he's actually communicating with me. Like, who the hell am I in this world? Nothing. Okay. So I'm really happy. Okay. And I tell my wife, and she sees it as something different. And our plan, we had backpacks and jeans and sneakers, was to get on the uh, use the Euro pass and get on the train, sleep on the train, and get to Vienna the next day. Okay, so I said to my wife, "Let's take the next train. Let's celebrate here. Let's eat something here." Okay, so I asked the person at this very inexpensive place who was staying near the train station, "Where's one of the nicest places to eat around here?" And he says, "Probably the Four Seasons, the restaurant at the Four Seasons Hotel." So I said to my wife, "Let's go there." Okay, and he says, "You can't get in there." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, it's a Friday night. Apparently, October 15th, 1982 is a Friday. You need a reservation. It's a small restaurant, and they'll never let you in dressed like that. You need a suit. She needs a gown. You can't get in there with jeans and you can say sneakers, running shoes." And I said to myself, "Nonsense. Of course we're getting in."
Oh.
So we're all rushing to this place. And of course, there's a man with a doorman with a top hat and everything else. And I ask him where the restaurant is. And he says, "Up the banister on the second floor." And we go there, and everyone's dressed the way this person described, except for the maitre d and the waiters and the piano player. They all have tuxedos on. Okay, and so the maitre d asked me my name, so I give him my name, and there's one empty table, and we eat. Okay, and there's a reserve sign on the table that he took off, and my wife said it had our last name on it, but I didn't see that. And we have like the greatest meal of my life. Okay, with hors d'oeuvres, appetizers, desserts, whatever. And then the bill comes, and I start arguing with the guy because the bill is too little. I said, "This is like as though we had some fast food someplace. Somebody must have paid this." Okay, and typical German style, he tells me exactly from memory what we ordered. Okay, and this is the bill. So I look at my wife and I say, "Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Let's pay the bill. I'm going to give him 20% of what I think that as a tip of what the bill should be, which is more than the bill, okay, that we're being charged." And during that meal, my wife, again, she's not in the novel yet, but in real life she's there. Okay, had
Mm-hmm.
a map of Munich that they give you at the train station if you're a tourist and you want it, the downtown areas. And when you folded it a certain way, it looked like there was a J at the Wittelsbach fountain. So in the book, I just see this note. She's not there in the book yet, okay, on the table. But in real life, it's her handwriting. And if you send me an email, I have a copy of that, and it has a list of 7 things with a dash, and then one thing dash that's empty, and 17 is all over that book, whatever the heck it is. So
Wow.
we pay. Wait, it gets better. And as we're going there, she announces to me that the J stands for James. It's going to be the name of our first kid. Okay. And I say to her, "What's wrong with, Joseph or John? Those are good names. And she looks at me like I'm a moron. Says, "It's obviously James." I said, "Well, it's not so obvious to me." Okay. So we're running to this Wittelsbach fountain, okay, in the middle at like 10:30 at night, to see if there's a James or a John or a Joseph written on the fountain. Okay. And we get there, and there's a little man, American with a Southern accent, which I didn't like in those days because we speak quickly in New York City. Okay, I don't have time to listen to you can wait. And so it was just perfectly for me. Okay, there's nothing with a J written on the fountain. And he looks at me and he says, "My name is James. I've been waiting for you for a long time. It's about time you got here." And then he turns around and leaves. So at first I was James. I'm out.
Okay.
Okay, and then if
Wow.
you wait, it gets better. If you look at the list that she wrote, then okay, there's also 7 things listed. One of them is Paul, the other is Stephen, spelled with a PH, and that's the name of our second son. Okay, and the first son had kind of like a round head, like my wife does. And again, she's brilliant. She's much smarter than I was even before I got sick. Okay, it's like a sitcom. When growing up with me, supposedly as the doctor and the husband and the father, okay, I'm the moron compared to these 3. Okay, well, I'm on a different level of intelligence before I got sick. Okay, and so I had a terrible time in again in yeshiva and in elementary school, and I have to listen to my wife brainwash James before his first day of kindergarten. "You're going to love it. It's great. It's so much fun. It's this and that." And you can't give different messages to the kids, so I have to
Mm-hmm.
listen to this crap for weeks and shut up. Okay, so finally James goes to kindergarten.
The list has been seen.
But so right, right. Well,
Mhm.
well, it gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse the next day is even worse. Okay, so
Mhm. I
well
don't think Paul breathes.
again, you never had the experience of being the dumbest kid in class like I did. Okay, so anyway, James
Yeah.
gets there the first day, and about a half hour later, my wife gets a call from the teacher. Okay, she has to come in. Okay, why? Because he's standing there with his arms folded, and he's not doing anything she says, and he announces, "My mother said this is supposed to be fun, and this is work." Okay, basically she lied to me. Okay, so he wouldn't cooperate with anything. Okay, and I was so proud of him. Okay, despite months of being brainwashed, he figured this out in 2 minutes. Okay, so my wife had to be the monitor for about a month. Okay, and then we get to our next child. Okay, and they're very different, both of them. Okay, they're both brilliant. Okay, the next one, Paul, again had my shaped head, kind of like long, narrow. And when I saw him, I said, "Oh God, he lost the genetic pool here. Okay, why didn't he have my wife's brain?" Okay, but then I stopped worrying about him because he graduated from Phillips Academy with honors and graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Columbia, won a Marshall Scholarship at Oxford. So I figured he's doing okay with his brain. But when he was little, he refused to listen to us. Okay, James, you could take to the finest restaurant at the age of 2. He would observe what everyone else is doing. They got their napkin on their lap. They're eating. They're sitting at the table. Fine. That's what you're supposed to do. If he needs to go to the restroom, he'll ask me. We'll go to the restroom together. Paul, completely different. Okay. He sees what everyone else is doing. That's just a suggestion. That doesn't mean he has to do that. Okay. So you can take him to a restaurant. Okay. I'm left-handed. I have to eat with my right hand. He has to sit on my left side because at some point a light bulb's going to go out of his head. Where are they taking all those dirty dishes in those swinging doors in the kitchen? And where is the food coming out from those swinging doors? Okay. At one point, he's going to get up and run to the kitchen. Okay. So you have to grab him by the shoulder and throw him in the seat because it's happening. Okay. And one time I missed, and of course, a waiter, tripped over him and spilled all the food on the floor. I had to pay for it.
Oh
Okay.
no.
With this. Okay. But the point is, the light bulb goes out and he just acts. And it's the same way, you have to treat him differently. Okay. So we're taking a walk, let's say me and two kids, and James always has to walk where the traffic is. Paul has to walk where the wall is, away from the traffic, because you have to have time to grab him. Because at some point, something's going to interest him, and he's going to run and get run over. Okay. And James would ask, "Okay, Dad, can I run up to the corner there and I'll wait for you?" And I said, "Yeah, just stay on the sidewalk." Paul asked the same question. The answer is no. You're not going up there because you can't be trusted to be by yourself. Okay. So it was
I know that feeling.
it was really like it was really a sitcom. Okay, to the nth degree. And then I got sick. On March 25th, 2019. Again, I'm driving to work. I'm the physician in the book to see patients in the office, and suddenly I don't know how to drive and I don't know how to use my cell phone. And I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's encephalitis. I'm one of fewer than 500 people in the history of the world to get this god awful disease. And so most of my long term memory was wiped clean, and all of my short term memory was wiped away. And I was admitted again on March 25th, 2019, until May 2nd, 2019, on steroids and chemotherapy. And I was on 3 times the FDA approved dose of chemotherapy. And I was a moron,
Nice.
like a literal moron. Okay. And so I came home, and as long as I could I still had the medicine information in my brain. Okay? I could still review cases as long as it was on a topic that I did hundreds of times beforehand. I couldn't do anything new, and it was very frustrating to say the least. And then because nothing changed after 2 years, the parts of my brain, I'm left-handed, so the right side of my brain is dominant. The right hippocampus and temporal lobe were destroyed, which is the area for memory. Okay, and my poor wife had to deal with this. Okay. And not only that, but I was still having seizures despite all this, okay, which she didn't kind of understand. There's something called temporal lobe seizures. They're different from tonic-clonic epilepsy, where you're throwing yourself on the floor, okay? And it's kind of like you're not there, okay? And so we'd have these, and I'd have like 3 or 4 episodes a day of 15 minutes each. And if it was when I was talking to her, I could understand she was speaking English, and I could understand some of the individual words, but not have a clue what she was saying. And we get into arguments. You think I was ignoring her, but I wasn't ignoring her. I just couldn't understand. Okay, and this went on, again for 2 years, and finally nothing changed, so they stopped the medicines. And then a year later, on April 29th, 2022, miraculously and suddenly my memory came back. So I can remember things from when I was 17 months old. Okay, it's like, again, I never realized I had this great memory. Okay, and then again, going back, I had this great memory when I first saw her. You try and memorize, 8 charts, okay, at Mass General, okay, and whatever. I never realized it wasn't
trouble
fun.
enough. I had trouble enough learning lines when I was trying to be an actor.
There you go. There you go. But again, I didn't appreciate that. But what I did appreciate was the great immune system I had. Okay, that I knew. That was obvious. And my kids would be in elementary school. One of them would get sick, give the cold to the next one. My wife would get it. All 3 of them would be hacking away. And they said, Dad, how come you never get sick? I said, I'm a human being. I get sick like everybody else, but just for an hour. And this immune system kicks in and kills everything. Okay, it's like wonderful. It's from my father. Okay, that I knew about. I remember I was an intern at Kings County Hospital, and I did some admission, and it's 3
Hey,
o'clock in the
Paul,
morning.
is it Paul? Can I interrupt you for a second?
I don't think Paul breathes when he speaks.
Yeah, I think it's so good. I just have tons of things to talk about and
Okay,
Let's
go.
Yeah. Breathe,
Go.
breathe, Paul, breathe.
Well, you're as a mother, you're the original leader. Okay, I mean, you're it.
Yeah.
I think life is like so harried, and again, we make it much more complicated than it should be. Okay, It really is very simple. Find out what God wants you to do and do it. Try to do it. That's it. None of this other stuff is important. Okay. But we're all harried. The kid has to go to this. He has to have this lesson. Has to do this. We have to take him this way. Blah 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 blah. He has to have this activity. It's part of it.
Yeah, I've seen. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned listening. I have a networking meeting I go to on Wednesday nights, and it's on Zoom. But the question of the night, or the question for the week, was what skill would you, if you could wake up with any skill in the morning, what would it be? And I said listening. Be a better listener. And because I do have issues with that. I have ADD. I'm the inattentive type of ADD, not the hyperactive type of ADD. So I tend to drift away from conversations, which is interesting. That I ended up doing a podcast with people, doing a roundtable and interviews and all that. I also have a bit of when I was a kid, I had a whole if you named the speech impediment, I had it, and stuttering still comes into play every now and again. But so it's really funny that I got called to do a podcast and do all this. It actually started out as a radio show, but yeah, I think what a big problem people have is that they either don't listen at all, or they listen while they're trying to think of what the next thing they're going to say is. And so so instead of contemplating what the other person is saying, whether that's your child or a coworker or whatever, you're trying to think of, okay, how am I going to respond to this person so I don't sound stupid? And they end up sounding like nothing. The sound of silence, I guess you could almost say. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems that we as a society have is just this lack of active listening.
I just look back at my childhood, and it was like being lonely and being unhappy, and I was like this goody two shoes that just did what you're supposed to do. And then then I got yelled at for the first time, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was for doing something nice. Okay, and again, I'm at this yeshiva. It's a 6 mile bus ride, and I'm in third grade. There's a guy, a little kid, Henry, in first grade on our block, going to the same school. But his mother would drive him to school all the time, and then I would see him. We'd go back on the bus together. Okay. Well, for whatever reason, he forgot his bus pass at home, so he's bawling his head off, and the school is closed, and we don't have cell phones then, obviously. So I say, "Okay, here, take my bus pass. I'll walk." All right. So I'm walking 6 miles, and it's the dark, and it's winter, and whatever the heck it is. So I get home, and of course I'm late. And my mother starts screaming at me, "Where were you? We're worried about you. What's wrong with you?" Blah 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 blah. And I couldn't get the words out. I just started crying because I was never yelled at like that, before. And for finally, and to my great help here, Henry and his mother rang the doorbell. Okay, and they were returning my bus pass, and his mother said, "Oh, you must be great parents to have a kid who did something like this." Blah 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 blah. Okay, and then the upshot was all this was, well, it's dinner is over. Goodbye. Go to bed hungry. Screw you. Okay, that was the end of that. Okay, that night. Okay, and it's kind of like, okay, this is what happens when you do something good. Okay, like that. My whole world was like so weird in those days. Okay, it was just nothing made sense. I'm surprised I didn't turn out to a mass murder. Okay, that's what I was surprised at. Well, again, while we're waiting for Delisa, the next day was even more of a weird day. Okay, we're on
Okay.
the train. We're sleeping on the train. This is now October 15th. We're sleeping on the train to Vienna. You get to Vienna, it's dark. Okay, check into a hotel. And I have a guidebook where it says there's a restaurant near St. Stephen's Cathedral. And there's a law in Vienna that you can't have a building higher than that steeple, so you can
Right.
see it from everywhere. So it's easy to find it. We can see it. Let's walk there. We'll figure out how we got there and walk back. I don't have to ask directions. So it's supposed to be on the second floor, like the night before. Okay, and there it is. And there's a regular door, with a glass door with a wooden frame. And I open the door, and there's a dim light coming from the second floor where this restaurant's supposed to be. And clearly it's closed. There's nothing open there. So I turn around to leave, and we're locked in this hallway. Okay, I can't open the door. And again, I'm a pulmonary fellow who grew up in New York City. Okay, there's a law in every Western country since 1921. What happened in 1921? There's a fire in the Coconut Grove nightclub in Manhattan,
Mhm.
and for whatever reason, the people were locked in and burnt alive. So there's a law. You can lock the door if the place is closed, so nobody can rob the place. But once it's open and someone walks in, you can't lock them in. And I
Right.
know this. So this is weird. Okay. And then I'm tapping on the glass there, and a nice man with dark hair comes over to open the door for us, and he can't open it. Now I'm really worried. Like, what the heck is this? I just opened this door. He can't open it. Okay, from the outside. And then I look up where my wife was, where the light was, and I see a Christmas tree for about 5 seconds, and that goes away. Then I see an Easter candle, same place for about 5 seconds, and that goes away. And then I see the face of Jesus. Okay, just like he's depicted with this, not the beard that you have, but the short beard and the brown hair. Okay, and I'm frightened to death. Okay, and he's not smiling. He doesn't look like he's happy at all. Okay, and then I turn around and try to get out, and I can't get out. And finally, a lady with blonde hair, so blonde, there's always a blonde in the story. Okay, opens the door for us, and we run out. Okay. Now, the night before that, my wife wrote this list of 7 things, and one of the 7 things she wrote was St. Bridget, okay, St. Bridget of Sweden. And so the next day, I buy this book of saints, which I have now, okay, and I look at July 23rd, the feast day for St. Bridget, and there's a picture of the lady who opened the door for me, okay. Now, she lived from 1400 to 1473. But in 1982, she was alive and well and kicking. Okay, that's the face of that one. I had a great
Wow.
look at it because I'm sleeping at the door. Okay,
Hmm.
so I remember got out, and I said to my wife, "Look, we need to get in a restaurant. I don't care what the food is. The next restaurant we see, I need to be around people. I don't know what that was, the Twilight Zone, what the hell that was. Okay, but I need normal. Okay, So we wound up going to the Lucky Chinese restaurant, and neither of us like Chinese food. And I remember sitting there and saying, this is perfect. Okay, there's people here, there's a waiter here, there's, I don't know what that world is, but we're back on the planet Earth. Okay, and things are good, right? But that was the bad day. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I used to think, by the way, that there's always a match with these things, because if there isn't, you think you're going crazy. Okay. So, this weird thing happens. Okay. Well, here's the match. And I used to think, well, that was the match for the day before. But then something else happened. Same trip. We're in Rome, and we're climbing up the steps there, the Spanish steps. And I look up, and I see the face of Jesus again. Okay, just like I saw, on October 15th, but earlier on that trip. And for like about 5 or 6 seconds, and then he's gone. And again, there's always a match to this thing. And again, I'm not comparing myself to any saint. I'm not a saint, and I'm certainly not comparing myself to the Blessed Virgin Mary. But when the Blessed Virgin Mary has the Annunciation, which is the day that I got sick, okay, March 23rd, so we celebrate that day. Okay. She's told, hey, you're going to have Jesus by the angel Gabriel, and she says, well, how is that possible? I don't have anything to do with man. Right. And she's told, well, the Holy Spirit will overcome you, blah blah blah, and he's the Son of God. But then the next day, you have the visitation. She goes to visit her cousin Elizabeth, and who's pregnant with John the Baptist. Yeah, and she's told, hey, God can do anything. Your cousin, who is supposedly barren, is pregnant with this guy. Okay, so she goes to check it out. Okay, and as she walks in, what is she? How is it that the
mother
this
of my
person,
Lord,
mother of our Lord, is coming to visit me? Okay, so again, I'm not comparing me to the Blessed Virgin Mary, but the point is, as a human being, you can't just be in the twilight zone and think that's okay. That's abnormal. Okay, and so the question is, are you crazy, or is this real? And so you need to have some other sign to say, hey, this is real. Okay, that you're not completely crazy. Okay, and again, my wife tells me I'm crazy every day, so it's part of the daily argument. Okay, but whatever. Yes. Okay. Shoot. Well, I just don't like the ending of it. Well, because I don't like the ending of the Our Father prayer. This is obvious heresy. Okay, on my part, there'll be people who are religious who will be calling your program, denouncing it.
Hold on, quick interruption. Delisa, can you hit refresh on your browser? For some reason, I just got a notice that your browser is not allowing a reporting. So if you can just hit refresh, yeah. And then we'll just give her a second. But yeah, it's too bad that Delisa's internet's been giving such a problem throughout the thing. But and there she is. Yeah, it is. First world problems.
Okay, she's back. Again, the beginning of the prayer, I completely agree with. The ending of the prayer, where it's, again, you're praying to your Heavenly Father. Do not lead me in temptation, but deliver us from evil. Okay? And as a father, I know there is no father who's going to lead his son into temptation, and then if he fails, he goes to hell for the rest of his life. Okay? Right. For eternity. Okay? This is not a game show. Okay? So I don't go there at all. And the other thing is, it makes it sound like there's some kind of nebulous evil. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. No, there's a real evil. There's an evil one, okay, who's active. Who I've been feeling since 1982. I've been doing hand-to-hand combat and losing with this person every day. Okay, and it's torturing me, and that's the source of the cross. Okay, that's who gives you the cross. Basically. So I just ended as deliver us from the evil one. That's it. Simple. The rest of the prayer is the same. And again, it's complete blasphemy and heresy because the way it's written in the Bible. Okay, so you can't just say, well, I think this is wrong in the Bible. Okay, who am I to say this is wrong? Okay.
Well,
But in my experience, this is not quite right there.
I've always looked at it more as a kind of like the rest of the prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. Well, of course your
Right.
Father's going to give you your food. But I've always looked at it as God likes to hear this that he wants us to speak our reliance upon him. Like, hey, Lord, I want this. Well, God knows you want this. God knows you need this. God already knows, and he's already made plans and accommodations for it if it's actually necessary. But he likes to hear you say, God, can you help me? I'm putting myself under you and putting my faith and subservience to you. And the same goes for, lead us not into temptation. It's not that God would. It's just that he likes to hear us say that we're reliant on him. That this is part of the relationship.
I learned that 5 million times, like every day. Okay.
Yeah.
Like there's no chance of me being happy, okay, without his assistance. Okay?
Yeah.
I know that.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
And
You
again,
can't just put it like that. And Paul, yeah, I'm stopping you there. Even you, Bill, because you guys are looking at it from such a one or two dimensional aspect. You're not looking at it from a relationship point of view. It is not only
Okay.
saying the words, we come back to listening. Now, yes, we all know that God knows
Yeah.
all things and he has provided all things. And in Jeremiah 29, he says, I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, so on and so forth, right? It's plans to give you hope and an expected end. It is not just praying. Remember, we need to breathe the ruha,
True.
our breath,
True.
the breath of life. So when we are saying the words, these are not blind words. We also need to get in that space of meditation and or reflection. So we're asking for something, but at the same time, like when we get into that part, those space of like the evil one, we also need to recognize these are the bad habits. For example, we're thinking of it like how you guys have presented it, and correct me if I am wrong. So many people look at it as if there's something external that is doing something to me. Someone is doing something to hurt me because they are wicked or vile or evil. We do not also recognize that the Lord is there to help us to overcome, because we have power to trample over snakes and scorpions. And these things can be our own negative self-thinking, our doubts, our fears, these bad habits that we have taken up, our anger, our that we are carrying. So we dismiss all of these things, then we're giving lip service when we forget that, like in anything else, it's like you, Paul, and Bill, like in your relationship, either with your wife, your children, or your family, it will be different. So our relationship with the Lord is not only just asking, but also to receive. We want to hear what the Lord has to say as a creator of building everything, the whole universe that's permeating, that's omniscient and omnipotent. I want to know what I need to know for this season in my life, for this time, for this moment. How do I overcome this particular challenge? How do I lead my home? In my case, as a woman, as a wife, if you're a wife, how do you lead? How do you support your husband? As a husband, how do you lead your children? What direction should we go through? And it is in those spaces of after prayer, reflection, or meditation, whichever one you want to do, speak, listening actively to the Lord after that communication. And you could do it either writing or in our dreams. It is revealed. And that's all I'm going to say, because I could go on and on about this subject. Good.
I am taking a note there, and it's something I have to work to remember. Again, it's like I have trouble enough listening to people, but to listen to the Lord, that's another thing entirely. But yeah, yeah, it can be really difficult to actively listen to God. Say your prayer or your supplication, and then to listen to Him and for Him for that leading. And I've heard His call before, not audibly, but I got led to before when I was living in California. My old church, they shut down because the membership got elderly and tired, and decided that it was time to move on, which I think was ridiculous. But that's another story. And so I was left without a church, and so I'm like, well, where do I go? And yeah, I had to listen. And the Lord led me to the Hispanic congregation that used to rent the fellowship hall from the church I was going to. And they got a new building, and we started up an internet ministry and all sorts of things. And then it was time to go, and so I left, and now I'm here in Missouri, and having trouble finding that perfect church. It's like, where's God want me to go? And not being able to find it, and maybe that's
Yeah.
a clue, is that I'm just not listening well enough.
And or maybe you
I need to listen more.
Perhaps. You never know, right? I find it, yeah. I like what you said. It was the listening part of it.
There you go.
What I've encountered with parents, and I'm focusing on parents because this is my specialty. This is what I do. They want to listen, and they want to lead, and having that communication, and they think to themselves, I have to do all the things.
Should come back in a second.
What I have found is that
Melissa's internet speed is very slow. She's down to a 2% upload
in our homes. And I just want to hear from you guys if that's something that you have done.
I want to hear what she has to say.
I just want to stress one last part of my story, okay, while we're waiting for. I'm no hero here in all of this, okay? And at one point, when I didn't have my memory back, I called a priest that I knew and say, is it okay if I just stop eating and drinking and let nature take its course here? Because this is awful for me. It's awful for my wife, okay? And I don't want to go on like this anymore. And he said, well, God will understand. Go for it. And that's what I was going to do. But then one of my providers, who actually read the book, and said, well, if you think God wants you to do this, get this consecration of Russia done, okay, and you tell him no, you're going to go to hell. Okay, so that's the only reason. That's the only reason I'm still alive. Okay, otherwise I would have been not done with this a couple of years ago. And so I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of
I got cut off there, and I'm
hero stuff. I'm not. I'm just kind of the opposite here.
Yeah, we all have a little hero in us.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
I wanted to hear the rest of what you had to say.
I don't know where I cut off, but anyways, I was wondering, as you talked about listening and leading, and I experienced this a lot with parents, how do you create the space in your home, not only for yourself, but for your family, to be able to listen and to live in purpose? Because this is something that I teach and I share with my clients, but I find it very interesting to learn how a different generation, such as ours, how we think about things, how we start off. No, I'm still here. I'm still here. Oh, yeah, I wanted to hear how you guys.
Yeah, couldn't hear the last.
I wanted to know how
you broke up there for a second.
Create the space in your home to be able to listen. Yeah, how do you create the space? Because that's like
the space to listen. Well, for me, I've got my little office here now. The house we moved, where we moved from was a little 1-bedroom apartment. My cousin and I, and that is, and he had a heart attack and because he couldn't work, he
Oh,
got his retirement settlement from the place he was working. And my parents live out here in Missouri, not too far, about 45 minutes to an hour away. They're in the South Pacific right now, uh, but um, but so we were able to purchase a house that has 3 bedrooms, an office, and 2 bathrooms, and where we could barely afford a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment in Southern California. And so now I get the office. I get one of the rooms as an office, and then Rudy, my cousin, he gets he kind of takes over the front room. Uh, but yeah, so there's space to be alone and separate, if we need to be, and there's plenty of space to be together if we need that. And as soon as we finish getting the house all put together, we'll have more people over to be able to listen and spend time together with. Um, so yeah, I uprooted my
getting
entire life and moved it most of the way across the country. That was how I found space to listen. Paul, how about you?
getting back to the question about listening and bringing up the kids. The important time was dinner. Okay, having dinner in the evening, because everyone's at the table then. Okay, so it's not just, okay, let's grab some food and eat. It's kind of like, this is the time to teach and listen and talk to the kids. So that was kind of like the nightly event for that.
Mhm. I like it. I really
No
like
matter
it.
what else is going
Yeah,
on in your
and
life,
it's so
there's that.
welcoming
The kids
to
have to eat,
especially the dinner
and
table.
this is the time to
And so one of
teach
the
and
things that
listen.
I share, and I'm going to share this with the audience as well, is
It's a
that
good space.
creating space is so important. And we're here talking about like prayer and having our own separate space. And those things
Right.
are so wonderful and encouraging. But to those that are listening and they're like, I have no clue what the heck you're talking about. How am I going to do this? How am I going to include my family when I myself need it? One of the things I can say is create the atmosphere in your home. Just start there. And you can start there by putting on the music. There's very specific music that you can listen to, something that's going to refresh you, renew you, revive you, music. And as you do that, it shifts the environment, and it opens your heart up. It releases the stress, the tension, the energy, whatever else is going on. And it opens up the space for the Lord to come in so that you, as the parent, the head of the home, the parents, because there's usually 2, sometimes there's 1, to be able to hear, listen, and receive what your children are going through, as well as to communicate with them and also with yourself. So that's just one thing. And I just wanted to know with you, gentlemen, is that something that you do? Do you listen to music sometimes? Well, we all listen to music, but if you want to get into a particular mindset, is there that thing that you do to help you shift the environment so that you are in harmony with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've both tuned in music that is reflective of my mood, and I've also chosen music to change my mood. You get something that's energizing and get up and go kind of music, and that can really start the day. Like a good cup of coffee.
Well, I don't necessarily listen to anything or see anything, but I say the rosary every day, so that's kind of like the time, the quiet time, to
Okay.
try to listen. What you got anything to say to me? I'm here. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
The listening, yeah, we all can do better with
Yeah,
that.
I need to do.
You know what? I want to hear from a male
I need to do
perspective,
better about
because
that
I know
listening
I'm sharing
that
from a
listening
female
time.
perspective about leadership of the home. How is it as a male in the home? How do you find it now in 2023 to lead your home, to lead your family, um, under the grace of God? Especially when we live in a time when there's just so many things happening, and we got to remain steadfast and true.
Well, for me, it's easy because my wife is so much smarter and better than me. It's kind of like I'm just there to carry the bags, so she's in charge. You know, that's that simple. Okay, there's anything has to do with any decisions. Okay.
Well, and of course, I run a solo ship, so yeah, so I don't have a family of my own to lead. I do get to spend a little time with my brother's family. They have two little ones,
But it's so good.
5 and 3. I want
Do
to
you
say
find it easier?
they're both
Yeah.
little.
Do you find that
So,
now, because it's easy for you, as you said, you left California,
It's a
you
great
moved to
age.
Missouri,
Yeah.
you just packed up and you went. Do
Yeah,
you
they're great
find
little
that
kids.
your leadership as a single man has grown? Do you feel that, like, as you've grown, like, evolved enough to mentor young single men or even older men such as yourself into like leading a healthy lifestyle and way of being?
I think it's getting there because it's
Mhm.
freed up quite a bit of my time and made me focus more on what time I give to different things, or making, because it is still a process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's definitely possibilities there for that, for leading others. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that lately. It's an old project that I think its time may have about come. Because I don't know how other people's brains work, but I'll get an idea and some piece in the back of my head will keep thinking about it when I stop thinking about it consciously, and then later on it'll be like, okay, this is all. This idea is now fully cooked and ready
That's
to
incredible. That's
go.
incredible.
And
Yeah.
so
How do you guys set boundaries?
so yeah.
Boundaries for
So
your
yeah,
time?
I think there may be things like that coming in the not too distant future.
Well, for me, the most important thing is with these cases, they have to be on time. Okay, if the case is late, the review company that sends me the case doesn't get paid, and I don't get paid. Okay, so the case has to be on time. That's the first thing. So the first thing is to take a look at what cases are that have to be done and when they're due. Okay, and get that squared away. Okay, some of them you have a week to do it, so you can plan on your own time to do it. For others, like I just did one today, by the way. Okay, it was due about 5 minutes before your review, before meeting you on this thing. Okay, so I said I can. They asked me, "Can you do this?" I said, "I can do it if you send it right now because I got to be at this.
Yeah.
I'm occupied at a certain time." Okay, and so they sent it right away. So that's the first thing. Okay, I need to be able to pay some bills here, so that's number one. But after that, it's kind of like, okay, where's the list that my wife wants me to do today? Okay, because she's clearly the boss of this.
Yeah.
And then try to fit in what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. My schedule tends to be limited by due dates for things as well. Right now, I'm in the week between classes, so I have a little breathing room. But starting on Monday, I'll be back in class and have due dates for things, and I'll have to look and say, okay, this is due on Friday, so I have to make sure this and this is done, and then okay, we've got appointments. I take Rudy to his doctor appointments as well, and and then I've got my doctor's appointments, and getting older kind of sucks. Uh, but yeah, but
Tell me,
yeah, and then and then there are different meetings I have throughout the week, and of course the show on records on Thursday at noon. And so I have to make sure things are scheduled around that. This next class is going to have four total class meetings on Zoom, and then I have various other meetings throughout the week, and so I have to. That's it's like I've got times when people can set meetings with me, and times when they can't. I use Calendly.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful because it sends me reminders. It sends everybody reminders, but it sends me reminders of, okay, such and such is coming up. And,
Yes.
Paul didn't experience that because he was a last
Yeah.
minute guest addition, but yeah, my guests get like 3 or 4 reminders that they're going to be on the show. And I need to double check and make sure that the link is in at least a couple of them. And then I get messages.
Yeah,
I get messages from it. Hey, it's set up and this is the time and it's going to be tomorrow and all those kinds of things. Just to make sure I don't forget, but because I'll drift. But yeah, so like and so what I'll do is I'll limit it that way. So like if you were to go on, if I was to give you the link to set a 15-minute meeting, let's say. It's not going to let you set that meeting before 10 a.m. and it's not going to let you set it after, I think, 3 p.m. or something like that. No, I did go later because of the move. And then it's not going to let you set one for tomorrow because that's too soon. I can't prepare for it that way. But it's also not going to let you set it for more than a couple weeks out because I've had bad experiences with people setting meetings for weeks in advance and then just not showing up. Which is for the show, I allow bookings for 120 days out, which is the longest. And I occasionally get people drop. Like for today's show, we were originally supposed to have another guest, and at the last minute, she decided that it wasn't the day for her to be on the show. So so Paul graciously stepped up and took her place, and I think it's been a great opportunity to learn more and talk to both of
You know what?
because it changes depending on who's on the show.
No.
It's always a different dynamic when you have two different people
and a lot of professionals.
But yeah,
the boundaries.
So yeah, that's just a really long way of answering the question, I guess.
It's a challenge, and I'm sure you both
my rambling,
right? It's always like, well, I have this to do, I have that to do. Some people have family, some people don't. It's always so important to begin, especially if you have a business, to outsource where possible, or even if you work for a company, that's also great. Like to recognize where you can outsource or get the help, as well as putting limits on your time. So as you mentioned, Bill, you talked about putting in Calendly. This time and this time is not it. And when I was working in corporate, a lot of the VPs that I worked for and worked with, like they would have like set days and like chunks of time where it's like, nope, that's it. This is like the work that I'm doing on this day. That's that. Don't interrupt me at that time, which is like, really great because you need to have those boundaries. And then it's the same thing like when you come in your home, you need to have that set time where don't bother me for 30 minutes right now. Like, you're putting it there. I need this moment to like refresh, recoup, rejuvenate after this 30 minutes or hour or however long, then you could bother me. So it's
Right.
always interesting to learn how or hear how other people
Yeah.
set boundaries for themselves.
Yeah. 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 I kind of
One
have
of,
to force myself into it.
one of the things that I did when the kids were little, I was basically on my own practice. Okay, so I'm on call every day, and the kids wouldn't sleep, and then I get called in the middle of the night, and the whole household is up. So I kind of abandoned that and went to work for Astra Pharmaceuticals. This was 5 days a week, no beeper, no weekends, no night call, and that was where I first got this experience where it looked like the computer was on its own. One of my jobs was, again, it's a great pharmaceutical company. It's a Swedish company, okay, and they would get their drugs approved and sold in Europe first, and then I'd have a whole slew of these studies and have to create an NDA, a new drug application for the FDA to get it marketed in the United States. And it's kind of the work that I like to do because it's computer stuff and it's statistics, and it was all kinds of data that I liked. It wasn't personal stuff. It was, okay, you sit in your office and you're working, okay? Not so much interacting with other people. And I'm not a person, who does well, interacting with people, except as a physician, whatever. I'm not my wife. Let's put it that way, okay? And so I'm taking this data, and I'm looking at it, and some of the statistics of the p-value. The whole world depends on if the p-value is less than 0.05. Okay, so we say it's statistically significant and different if the chances of it happening are less than 1 out of 20. Okay, that's what we use. We don't use 1 out of 15. We don't use 1 out of 25. We use 1 out of 20. That's the whatever the biblical source of that is. I don't know. Okay, but so I'm looking at this immense amount of data with several studies. Okay, and I see there's like 2 or 3 of these studies that would not fit the quality that would be approved by the FDA. So I got to take that stuff out. Okay, the information from that, all the data from that will not be presented to the FDA. So now I got to do the statistics of that the drug is safe and effective, with the new data. Okay, and lo and behold, I'm looking at this and I'm shocked because with different numbers, different data, the p-value is the same to the 4th decimal point. Okay, and it's like not a possibility. Then I say, oh, maybe it's a rank file data. Like, in other words, we're not using the real data itself, but we're using how it positioned to the rest of the data. And maybe the stuff that was eliminated was, I eliminated some high points or some low points, so it averaged out the same. But no, it wasn't that at all. It was hard data. And so for the first time, I looked at myself and I said, this computer just did something on its own. Like, like in the book, that's kind of, again, how I got this idea that there's supposed to be this consecration, and if the consecration doesn't occur, an evil one is going to come and set off all these nuclear weapons. They're going to set off the computers. He or she, whatever the hell you call the devil, is going to set off the computers. Okay, and it will be like all these nuclear weapons are going to be launched. Okay, and the consecration is to prevent that. That's kind of the basis of this book.
Okay.
And again, Mary came to Fatima in 1917, and she saw these 3 shepherd children and said, "Go to the Pope and have him consecrate Russia to my Immaculate Heart in union with the bishops." Okay, that was so they went to the Pope, and that's been something that's been on board since 1917. Okay, 2 popes have actually consecrated Russia to her Immaculate Heart. One was Pope Paul, and the other was the Polish Pope John Paul II, but never as requested with the bishops. Okay, so that's still in play. And again, the plot of my novel and what I believe in real life is that I'm supposed to get this consecration done. Okay, and if it doesn't in my lifetime, the day after I die, all these nuclear weapons are going to go off by themselves. So it's got to be written as fiction because I don't want people having nightmares about this.
Right.
Okay, but that's kind of what I believe. Okay, and again, the only thing that I have going for me is these other things that I believe were promised have happened. Okay, and even now, yeah, I'm sick, but there's some improvements going on here. Okay, again, I told you about April 29, 2022, my memory coming back.
Right.
Okay, well, just the other day, I think my immune system is back. Like, even though it's been beaten to the ground, but my nephew had a college game. He goes to RPI, and there was a college game. He's a player.
Okay.
Okay. So I was saying to myself, "Why, it would really be nice if I could go to that, to see that." Okay. The last time I got a haircut, by the way, was 2 years ago. Why? Because I went to get the haircut. Nobody seemed to be sick. I got COVID. My wife who took me there didn't, and I had no immune system. So anyway, she says, "Get in the car, we're going." So I'm sitting there, and I'm freezing, and it was pouring. Okay, I'm sitting there in 3 hours of freezing rain. Okay, I'm soaked. Okay, and everybody else in the group had something hot to eat or drink, except for me, and I didn't get sick. It was like, hey, maybe I'm back. Maybe maybe this immune system is back. Okay, the same way my memory is back. This is what would happen. Everyone else is hacking away, and I'm fine. Okay, so I was thinking, okay, all right. And again, my peripheral neuropathy is suddenly better, like the last few weeks. And again, the last couple of months, I don't have those episodes where I'm having temporal lobe seizures where I don't understand my wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone too.
Wow,
Okay,
that's great.
and
There you go.
and I'm standing in the shower like last week or so, and normally I have to calculate what am I holding on to so I don't kill myself in this thing. And I'm standing there not holding on to anything and washing my hair, and I'm saying, "Wow, I'm standing. I'm not holding on to anything. This is great." And again, that's all right. Again, normally I can't get out of a chair without pushing off with my hands. Okay, but now, no problem.
Wow.
Okay, this isn't supposed to happen. I mean, I've seen people paralyzed in wheelchairs. Okay,
Yeah.
and if you look at my legs, they're like, again, they're like women's legs. Okay, like there's no muscle there. This is not what I'm used to. Okay, this is the calf is like the same size as somebody who's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Okay, but suddenly I can do things now. Okay, so this gives me hope that we're on the right track here. The guy upstairs hasn't forgotten about me. He's remembered all the promises. Okay, and it's going to happen.
Yep.
I just have to wait. Okay, and I'm hoping. Again, this is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday.
Yep.
Okay, but it's a special Friday. Okay, why is it a special Friday? Because if you went to Mass and you went to the readings, it's the same day as October 15th, 1982. You'd hear the same readings then. Okay, October 15th, 1982 is when I was converted.
Okay.
Okay, and Saturday is the same day as October 16th, the next day in Vienna.
Wow.
Okay, if you went to Mass, you'd hear the same reading. So I'm hoping tomorrow and the next day, I'm done with this. This phase of and it's time to get this consecration done. And move. Again, I'm 74. My wife is 68. Although she keeps telling me she's 70. She's not 70 yet, but she keeps telling me that. Okay. Again, she's normally past
There you go.
childbearing age, as we would say. Right? But if you look at the epilogue in that book, we're supposed to have a Peter and a John.
Okay.
Okay, so it's supposed to happen. I don't know. And we're not talking about adopting anymore.
Right.
We're talking about the old-fashioned way of creating children since Adam and Eve. Okay, so
Well, hey, God did it with Abram and Sarah.
I'm all right. I might be psychotic or something like that, but that always gives me hope when I see something that doesn't make sense, that I'm getting better. Okay, and again, the big thing was this: April 29th when my memory came back. Now get this, okay? The couple that I'm closest with is my wife's sister and her husband. Okay, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Okay, and so I'm admitted on March 25th, 2019. I'm in the hospital. I get home on May 2nd, 2019. That's Peter's birthday. His birthday.
Wow.
Okay, and then a couple of years later, when I get my memory back, it's April 29th, 2022. That's her birthday. That's his wife's birthday.
Okay.
Okay, so again, there's too many coincidences here going on. Like that. There's one out of 365 for what happened on this day, this particular
Well,
day.
that's a
Then you
long
got to
wait from
multiply that by another
1982.
365
Almost,
to get 2 days.
yeah, 41
coming
years.
on. That's a big number.
41 years.
To kind of arrange that. Okay, that's less than 1 out of 20. Okay, we say that it's statistically significant that that it's different. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So there you go.
We'll see.
Full circle.
I'm hoping.
41 years.
I've been hoping for
41 years
since
later.
1982 to be out of this mess, and been wrong all the time. It'd be nice to be right just once. Just once, I'd like to be right. Yes, it's a. Well, again, we were married in 1982 in January, and this all started October 15th, 1982. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's yes.
Well, let's talk about promotion, because we've been working here for more than an hour. Paul, what's the name of your book?
Right, I'd like to show you.
Okay.
The book. It's called. Let's see it here.
Little more to your right. There we go. A Man Like You and Me.
Yeah, it's called A Supernatural Adventure Story.
Okay.
And the front of it has the quote from St. Paul. Okay, love is patient, love is kind, does not envy. At the end of it, it says it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. It's
Amen
1
to that.
Corinthians 13. So that's and it has my signature there. The back of it has the picture of a baseball player, baseball bat.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
There you go.
Okay. And it has about the author. You can take the boy out of Brooklyn, but you can never take Brooklyn out of the boy. Always a Brooklyn boy. I may have done a fellowship at Mass General or Harvard, but no, I'm from Brooklyn. Okay? That's how that works.
Okay.
And again, the batter is kind of unique in that he's always coming to the plate to get a hit.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't care how great a batter they are. Okay, it could be a Hall of Fame batter. Most of the time, they don't get a hit. Okay, most of the time they make an out.
Yep.
Okay, so if they have a great batting average of 300, that means 7 times out of 10 they're failing. Okay, and so the idea behind it is you keep trying, you keep failing. You can't quit.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. You have to keep trying, no matter what.
Babe Ruth, when he had the highest home run hitting numbers, he also had the highest strikeout numbers. So when you
he wasn't bunting. That's for sure.
Yep.
He wasn't trying to hit singles.
No, he wasn't. Where's the best place to find the book?
Well, it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
It's available on Ingram Spark. It's available on at Barnes and Noble. It's also available if you want the ebook. It's a Kindle. There's 3 versions of it. On Kindle, there's an ebook. There's also this softcover book, and there's also a hardcover book.
Great.
So those are
okay. I'll put the link up to that up in the description, so people can find it easily. And
yeah.
And then
and again, the purpose of the book is to instill faith in the reader.
Great.
Okay? And what you have here is a list of in the back here, a couple of pages of it, a list of the biblical quotes.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Okay. And what happens is certain things happen in my life, and then if you went to Mass that day, this is the reading that you would hear, and they kind of correlate.
Okay.
And so what it does
I have some webinars, and we also have children's books. So at Faith and Sparkles World, this company was created by my daughter, founded by my daughter Faith, and our dog is Sparkles. So you get Faith and Sparkles World, and so it is so incredible that her books, her children's books, are based on her experience, and the things that are in the book are things that she did to help her grandmother.
The
so
only
it's
way we get to
kindness
salvation is
we're all superheroes through kindness and
through the
compassion.
Lord's
We can
call.
find our purpose. Now, it doesn't say that it's
Delisa, where's you've got some seminars coming up, some webinars.
Her grandmother, especially when her grandmother was going through a challenging time, and how she herself in the second book, Dr. Faith, so that's the first book, Superhero Faith, and Dr. Faith, how She continues to help her grandmother, but now when she's in the school, how does she present herself? What is she taking with her? And so she's showing vulnerability, even though she was a superhero, and asking for help to her teachers, and also trying new things and learning how to be a bit independent and trying to support her dog, her pup Sparkle. So there's those books, and then of course we have an upcoming book that's coming out next year, as well as our empowerment merchandise. So we have empowerment sweaters and t-shirts and tote bag, and it's all about the I am. And we didn't really get a chance to really talk about the I ams, but I am is so important because what we say to ourselves it is so very important. So we have the I am brave, and I am enough, and I am powerful, and I am kind, that you can match with your children or just like with your family members, if you so desire, to really encourage you, to empower you, to strengthen you when you need that. And then, of course, on my end, what I do as an empowerment leadership coach, I coach you, but each month I have a webinar. It's a free webinar. It is it's live, and we go through a different theme. So in October right now, we have the art of empowered leadership, operating through as a visionary thought leader. And in November, leading up to Christmas, we have the resilience workshop. There is strength in resilience. So you can find all of that on our website at www.faithandsparklesworld.com. And you just click the events page. You just go on the home page and all of these things. And I want to also finally share with your audience that when you're reading these books, know that these same books are helping children at hospital resource centers, such as the Boston Children's Hospital and Pennsylvania's Children's Hospital, and so many other mental health institutions. It's there at the resource center. A company reached out to us because they wanted to encourage and empower these children. And we also support, like Autism Speaks, and we find that these children are just so engaged, and not just children, the parents as well. They are so empowered and strengthened and filled with just peace and hope and joy, although they're going through some very challenging situations. And that in itself is such a reward for us, for my daughter who heard the word of the Lord and said, Mom, this is what I have to do. And me being an active listening parent and also listening to the Lord as well, to say, okay, let's take this step in our journey. Right. And so everything that we've talked about today, and we're, listening to the Lord, coming full circle, incorporating the Lord in our lives and our communication, how this applies to it. And as you can see, Faith in Sparkle's World is now doing so much work. The Lord is using us, and we're allowing the Lord to work through us, through his love, through his kindness, through his compassion, similar to what Paul, you're doing. You've answered the call in you as well, Bill. Yes. And I would love to.
Great. And I'll make sure to put the link for faithandsparklesworld.com in the description so people can find it. And this has been really great. Certainly would be happy to have both of you back again, with different people this time, the next time, because it always changes how everything is. Well, great. Anytime. Okay. Well, thank you both for being on the show. Before I end, do you have any final words for the night's people? Paul?
No, just again, we complicate things, very often. And again, when you mention the relationship between the grandparent and the grandchild, it's a special relationship. I never met my grandparents, okay, but my kids obviously know their grandparents, okay? And it's a time when perhaps the grandparent is not as busy as when they were a parent, and the child needs attention. So there's kind of like a nice match there. It fits. It fits very nicely.
Okay, Delisa? Final words? Absolutely. Well, great final words. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. Remember to wash your hands and watch the ending credits.
Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch.
I, of course, am your humble host.
I'd like to thank my special guests, Paul Joel and Delisa Abraham.
Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered.
Be sure to tune in next time when my special guests will be Sean Weisbrot and Chris Walker. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people.
If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.